So Hmong, it's spelled Hmong. So a lot of people, when they read the name, they recognize it, but when they hear it, they don't recognize it. They're both the same thing. So the Hmong people, as I said before, they don't have their own nation. There's like pockets of them around the world, a lot in California or Wisconsin here in the U.S. and Laos, and some in Thailand, northern Thailand, and different parts in Asia. The Hmong people that we found, they're a very tight-knit group, even though they don't have their own nation and stuff. The particular group we met, because a lot of them, I'm assuming a lot of them grow up, are raised in nations where there's a different culture and language. They adopt a lot of that stuff. They see signs in Laotian. They read in Laotian. A lot of them could read Laotian better than they could Hmong, although they speak in Hmong amongst themselves. When I was there, I started to learn Hmong, for instance, and just a little bit. We were encouraged to, since there's a lot of these Hmong people, but it kind of stopped since they already knew Laotian pretty well, and that's what we were learning. I actually started to learn to read Hmong, but when I would practice with the Hmong people, I got to the point where I could read better than they could, because they don't read Hmong that often. They don't really, it's not something they do. They mostly read Laotian. So it was kind of an interesting thing I learned, that even in their own culture, it's not something they read and stuff, but they speak it a lot, which was helpful for me in learning. But sometimes they have arranged marriages. There was one investigator who had this woman. She was incredible. She had her brother and sister come and learn the gospel too, and they were eventually baptized, which was awesome. Really humble group. We found out later on, she was in, there are certain tribes in the Hmong people, and there may have been some history where they didn't get along, or there may have been some conflicts, but they usually, if I understand right, I think they marry within their own tribes. They have to marry. Sometimes there's arranged marriages. She, the sister that we taught who was baptized, she was betrothed to a guy, a Hmong, in California. So as far as I know, she's still in California living and married to that guy. So that was interesting that they still practice arranged marriages. I thought that would be an interesting thing to experience. And their foods, they made us some Hmong food sometime. There wasn't a lot of taste, or as you experience in Thailand or Laos, where there's a lot of spices and flavors. Hmong, it was a lot more watery foods. There's a lot of different things. I'm not exactly sure what they were. Maybe like a sort of like sweet potatoes on some things, but it was all soaked in a sort of watery soup or something. So there's a lot of watery foods. That's what they eat mostly, and Hmong food. These tribes, especially up in the hills, that live a lot up in the hills, the ones that we met worship ghosts a lot of times. We were told about, there was an experience where we were told about a leader or a priest, sort of a guy, a spiritual man who worshiped ghosts. He would sit down and then like call upon ghosts, and they would come inside of him, and he said, the member who was a Hmong member who was describing this to us, said he passed out at one point. He would pass out, and he said for a moment he would stop breathing, and then all of a sudden like the ghost would leave, or the demon, and the guy would come back. But it was very interesting, and at least when it was explained to me, it sounded kind of dark and demonic, but that's their culture, what they worship sometimes. So